Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Vanessa Theme Ament, and today I'm speaking with Rune van Deurs, Foley artist at Quickstep Foley artist in Fjellstrand, Norway. Hope I said that fairly decently. Rune has also worked as a sound editor and production sound mixer. Welcome to Holy Foley, Rune. And say the name for me, Fjellstrand?
Say the Fjellstrand.
Fjellstrand.
Fjellstrand. Fjellstrand, yeah. It's mountain beach. It's
and I looked it up. It's a very small place. It's a small little.
Yes, it's a little kind of independent studio that we opened up like in 2017 or so. I wanted to get out of the usual business, and I wanted to get out of town, so we figured out that you have to take the ferry out from Oslo to get here.
Oh, how exciting.
Half an hour ride.
Now, see, one of these days, I am very excited about Northern Europe. And one of my favorite things is talking to people from all over the country. I feel so honored and privileged that because of my book, I am known enough to be able to talk to people from all over the world who do our work.
Yeah.
And one of these days, I have to visit Norway. And that's why I try to pronounce these various words, because it's exciting to me that I get to meet people and talk to people all over the world about what we do. Yeah. But yours, the country that you have landed in now, because I know that you're originally from the Netherlands, I believe.
No, that's 16 generation ago, so to make more precise. But I'm born in Denmark, just north of Copenhagen.
Oh, so you're born in Denmark.
1999. Okay. Yeah, so more than 20 years ago, I evacuated or immigrated to Norway for several reasons, and I just love it here. So I love the people here. So well, so I just started, and I have a little family now. So
I'm jealous. I'm born and raised in the United States. Although I will say the Ament side of my family has a lot of travelers that have ended up in a lot of different countries. I have relatives in Germany and Sweden and Brazil. And France and all over. So one of these days I hope to visit your country as well. I'd like to start by talking about Quickstep Foley Studio, since you take the ferry from Oslo over there to work there.
Yeah, Oslo is inside of a little fjord. Into the Oslo fjord, so we go into the very end of the fjord. That's where Oslo. But you can see where Fjellstrand or Nesodden is called. It's just on the other side. But so if to get here, you need a 25 minutes small ferry to get, or you can drive around.
Wow!
It's like a 40-minute drive. But it's very quiet and very peaceful. It's a very it's a very relaxed and very peaceful place.
Okay,
so and
getting me very peaceful as you talk about it. And your head
but it's also that when you need to get in, but when you need to get into like kind of getting into the finding yourself and producing, there's in the film business there can be a lot of noise, and stress and everything. So it's very nice to have your own little bubble out here, and it's also a little strategic to have it out here, because I didn't want to, when I started my own business, to be in the city. I wanted to get out so I can a little more control for what I do. So it's a little too far from the sound designers and supervisors to get out here. So they often are
a method to your madness.
We can work. Yeah. So that's also a little strategic one of moving it out here. So this is an old bakery where they made the bread before, but some like. I think like 10 or 15 years ago, the baker got the allergy to yeast, and so he had to take down the bakery. And when we took it over and turned it into a Foley stage, and then we've been since 2017, 18-ish. We have been very busy. Some periods where have been a little off, but most of the time it have been quite busy. So we've been very lucky and very
And you have,
and a lot of very interesting project as well. Some boring, but most of them are
well, I know that's the way
very interesting.
they don't, well, they're all interesting in their own ways. You know, over a 25-year period, when I was extremely active in film and television, I would say they're all interesting in different ways. Either they're very good projects because you're doing the same television show every week and you know the pattern of it, so you can get into the rhythm of it, or it's a really difficult film because you have to be on your toes all the time, or it's a really boring film, but it's a relaxing thing to do, or it's a really interesting movie, but not challenging for Foley, or it's really challenging for Foley, but the movie's a nightmare and you hate it, or it's a really complicated film to try to figure out how to do the sounds, or, you know, it's always something.
Yeah.
But
For me, it's either very interesting or not so interesting. So it's that's my 2 scale from 1 to 2. So but mostly we have projects that are fun. I must say some I think we just have to but you find the charm in things that's not very channel things. So
now, one of the things
so
I found really interesting that I want to comment on, because it's unusual and I took note of it, was you have a female Foley mixer. And
yeah, she's not here
that,
today, but yeah.
that I was very pleased to see, because
Yeah.
unfortunately, I would say that we in the United States are still very male centric in post production sound. And I work very hard to find women to interview. Um, and it's still very male heavy, which is fine because I very much like men and like talking to men and work a great deal mostly with men and have a great deal of good relationships with the men I work with. But I do like promoting the efforts of females working in our business. And it's not easy.
I agree.
It's not easy.
But no, but Marit, she's not here today. I would like to introduce her, but that she's much younger than me, and it was also 100% strategical, deliberate. I wanted to find somebody. She's like, first of all, I feel very comfortable being around her. She's a very calm person, and she can like calm me down. And also, like, I don't want 2 of me in the studio. So I've said, what is the exact opposite of me? That's a young upcoming female sound mixer, and she's very talented, and she's very humble, and she's I'm really so happy every time we work together. And sometimes she also work on other projects sometimes, and it's just like I miss her every time. We always have so much fun in the studio. So it's like that's also what I like, more females to get like a more balanced balanced environment here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's was until Marit is like perfect, perfect.
How did you find her? How did you find her as when you were looking for a mixer? How did you find her?
Sorry, she I well, it's like kind of, we have like a community here in Norway, a sound community, and I'll put out and
So
kind of
you were
advertise, and I need
recruiting. You were
people. I
recruiting.
need people. I was like I really needed people very fast, that somebody can come and help me, and she was the first one who contacted me, and we found out after some. She just stayed here, found some project. I say, can you please?
And does
And she just worked for a whole year. Yeah,
is
did
she,
all the project for a whole year. Yeah.
and when does she record to Pro Tools, or I'm just assuming
Yeah,
that you're all on Pro Tools.
yeah. We could use all kind of things, but the industry is like Pro Tools now. So
I know.
we are the old school where we have like a lot of microphones in the studio. So I have like 4 to 6 microphones in there, hidden different places, and we mix everything down to 1 track kind of thing, and to try to do it in sync. So there's almost no editing when the end of the day. We try to the end of the day we try to to be. So there's no, we do the editing on the way. So at the end of the day, we are done with the scenes. There's no editing to be done, and then we also just can bounce it, what we do, make a down mix and send it to the rest of the productions, so all the other teams can be up to date what is happening. And most important is that the director is often into to listen in the end of the process. So the intention is so it's not introduced anything new when he go into the mix stage. So it's always like a kind of almost close to the finished project. And there's almost no editing in what we do. We do the editing on the fly after scene, or while after take, if there's somebody have just put a little around. Also the panning.
So then this is a really streamlined, efficient way that you do your workflow.
Yeah. So yeah, I believe so. A little bit. It's we figured out that, and also there's a lot of on how specific we do it is will be a little technical now, because then I have to show the Pro Tools. But the thing is that we call it a one fader policy when we deliver a project. It's been close to that. We have all the, of course, deliver all the tracks and everything, but the sound mixer should be as close to, you only need to do the Foley master fader. So
let me ask you about that then, because I want to stop you and talk to you about that, because I think that's kind of interesting. That's very, very different than the American or British or even French, or it's very different than most processes. So let's drill down on that. What you are trying to do is present to the final dub something that will not require a lot of work on the final dub stage, so that they can be focusing on whatever else it is they're doing. You don't want to give them too much work. When you present them the pre-dubbed Foley, you want to give them something where they don't have to do a lot of mixing down and do a lot of work getting the Foley where they need it. You want to give it to them in a way where they don't have to focus too much on it. You want to give it to them in a place where it'll just lay into what they have to do on the Foley. I mean, on the final.
I was some years ago. I needed to revitalize the way it was done here, and had been some tradition that the that sound supervisor was supposed to record the Foley, and it was done with one mic. And my philosophy was it don't ever make it into performance in sound engineering. Don't make the art of sound engineering. Don't make the art of engineering. Make it like storytelling, or how you say it. And it was like a really weird focus that you just recorded everything and then you edit for like 2 weeks or 4 or 6 weeks, whatever. And we have to do it different, because clearly nobody could afford Foley stages here, and everything was kind of weird, old philosophy and everything. So what I did, I applied to go to Canada, to Technicolor, for 2 months and studied the studios there, and figure out how do we present it, how do we going to do it better.
So where did you a lot of things. Were you in Toronto?
To Technicolor in Toronto. And some fantastic people there, and was sitting in the mixes and just listening. I visit a lot of the other studios and talk to people and ask the mixers what they do. And one of the things I said, do you ever read what's on the file names? And say nobody ever reads what's on the file.
They're just listening.
No. So
I've been on a lot of
so first thing I said,
they don't have time. They are listening. They're just listening and dials.
So, so and
even in the Hollywood system, the more they have to look at paperwork, it slows them down. They're listening and moving dials. That's what they're doing.
And also we also like find out that the it's here it's been like recording to one track and move it down to other tracks, so we record right to the tracks. I don't think that's a very innovative thing, but the thing is that it was categorized into footsteps, clothing or movements, what you call it, and then props. And I figure out that people here was just looking and they still couldn't figure out who belongs to what prop belongs to where on the table. I say that's a kind of weird way. Why do we still do it like this? So what we did was just like really, I think maybe somebody else have done the same thing, and I guess there's somebody else, but we stocked it around. So we have like first on the mixing table we have character A, B, C, and D. And character A is like footsteps, clothes and props, and then character B is so far footsteps, clothes, and then we can link the panning together with character 1, character 2, character 3 in the scene, and also the sense for the mixer. Just say this must be a smarter way. This is what I would do if I sit in then it's just like there's no system in where the A, B, and C and D are. It's just like more that the first character into the scene is an A, and then we go to B, and then go to D, and sometimes we mix it around. But what's logical, but it's much more easier to find it on the mixer who's belongs to who here, what kind of props. It's like this is character A. So a lot of things that what I did was just by asking people what do you prefer to make it easier to make it. I think it's just like that's my job to make it easy for the next
Ask a question about this. I think it's wonderful that you went to mixers and asked re-recording mixers and said, here's a thought. What would you like us to do for you? Now, here's what I would say about that. That's what we did way back. Way back when the technology was a particular way, that's what we did. We said, how would you like us to present the tracks to you for the mixing? And that's the way we presented the tracks. I think what happened was then we stayed doing it that way. But the technology changed. And the way they started working on the mix was with different technology, but we weren't changing in Foley in the United States the way we were doing our end of it with new technology. Do you see what I mean? We weren't changing it and presenting our tracks in a different way, but their technology in re-recording was changing. So what you have opened my mind to, which I think is very interesting, is you reverse engineered it. You said, well, hello, perhaps we should find out now that they're using a different technology. We should find out, how do you want the work presented to you? And that's always been the way it's been done. You should always find out at the back end when you are, we are responsible for, because it's a collaborative art. We are responsible for presenting to the next layer. How do you need this for your end? And I think what happens is we forget that this is a collaborative art form, but done separately, unlike theater, where we're all in theater at the same time. I started in theater, so I would think in terms of theater, or in choir, where you're singing at the same time. We're a collaborative art form, but we're doing it at different steps. And we forget that we have to figure out what do the people after us, how do they need it? And I think we forget that piece. And what you're saying is, you went to the piece after you and you said, hello there, I'm just curious. How do you need what I give to you so you can do your part? And you came up with an innovation so that they can get their part and do their piece better. And as I'm listening to you,
some of my ideas is some of the just
what I'm coming to, though, Rune, is that this is because the technology changed. If the technology had not changed, where they were still working on 24 track on the dub, then we needed to keep it the same, but they're not. they're not working on 24 track on the dub anymore. They're working with Pro Tools where
No,
it's very
but
different. They're not even looking at, they're not looking at waves anymore. They're just listening.
Before I started the Quickstep here, I was competing with the studios, and they wouldn't let me in the Foley stages, and that was what back in 2004 to 7, I think, about that. At that time, I was like I had been in a year in a studio doing advertising and always like doing Foley stuff, but at that time, I was thinking that I was just intellectual thinking, why are things they are. So the thing is that we have this at this time, it was a lot of tradition. We have these big double machines, tape machines, and
Right.
then they turned into something called DAR, a Storm DAR, like a British kind of editing system.
Oh, I remember.
They used to start using Pro Tools, but the thing is that why we bring them into the props into the studios was because of the machines, right? We couldn't bring the machines to the props, so that's a traditional bringing them into the studio. So I would think, how can I compete with this? So what I did is, okay, now I have my first Pro Tools laptop. Okay, I have like 8 inputs, and so what I did, I invested like in a system that I could bring like Foley locations. So the first kind of films I did was really big films, and then why do I have to only use one microphone? So I did LCR on all the films. It's a fantastic. It's just like I can't recommend it enough. Like LCR recording, like left, center, right microphones, is just incredible good. So the first studio, I could bring down the costs of doing Foley because I brought the microphone equipment to a location, and a location often just costs a bottle of wine. If you we have yeah, because people
A
make a
very
film,
good bottle
we
of wine.
borrow the whole like old hospital and like places like old houses, like hot, and did all the and you can get some really good kind of off-screen things. And one of the good techniques I found out about the LCR is like if you move behind the microphone, you get some really cool effects. So you can, like, if you say this is microphone 1, like here, and we have microphone 2 left and right here. So if you move to near the microphone, right, these 2 will get louder, right? But if you have the microphone here and the main microphone here, when you move like this will get louder and this will get the off
For
screen.
the
And you can
people
move like
listening, so for the
you can
people,
move like this around. You can move like this around the mic, and you can move like this around the mic. You get completely different effects on how you and you can point them outwards and backwards. It's really so much to play with the LCR thing. And
so
the thing is,
so
it's
for our
just like
people, so Rune, for our people who are listening on a podcast, can you go through that again and explain auditorially where you were just placing all of your hands because they can't see you? Can you explain all
no,
of that
if
again?
this is your main mic, this is your main mic right here, right?
Right,
And this is like
right where? In the center. In the center.
yeah, in the center. This is like pointing this, and this is your floor plane, right?
And your flow
This is your
plane is
floor plane.
around because people can't see you. They can only hear you
Floor
on the
plane.
podcast.
Yeah. I mean, this is like the screen here is like the floor plane.
So the screen
Floor
is
plane where you
rounded,
move
and
around.
you're in the center. I'm saying it for people who are listening and not seeing.
Yeah. So this is your center mic, and out here you have 2
And you
left
have
and
2
right
on the
mic,
side.
right?
Right.
You have 2 on the sides. That could be Omni or whatever. So when you can move. Let's say you move on the floor like this down here
Down to the
towards
center.
the center mic, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So that's mean these 2. The closer you get to this mic, these will also get louder, right?
Correct. The ones on the
Yeah.
side will get louder.
Yeah. But you can also do like this. Put the mics here
Put the mics up
and
above.
the center mic here. Yeah.
Right. So you can move them
So
around.
if you walk, so if you move them up here, the center mics on the floor, and we'll go like this. The closer you get to this, the less sound there will be in this.
So the closer you get to the center, so you're using more than one microphone. When you were in Toronto, did you visit Andy Malcolm out at the farm on the way he did Foley?
No, I didn't get the chance to do that. It was
What's
too big
interesting
trip,
is, so Andy revolutionized a lot of the way he does Foley. It's very different than what you do, but what he does do that I think you would appreciate is he set up an entire farmhouse, much more like the way the French have. The French way of doing Foley is setting up a bunch of different rooms organized to look like rooms and sound like rooms. And then, of course, High Five Foley in Los Angeles has an old house in downtown LA that they've set up with different rooms to record.
I know.
This idea of getting off of just a single Foley stage, the old-fashioned way, which was the way I trained. I know how to work within that setting. And innovating the way you record Foley to fit into something much more innovative, and being open-minded with the way you record what will be the performative aspect of sound, which is the actor's performance sonically. You are being open and thinking about various ways of recording it. And I want to ask one more question before we get to this other part of what I want to talk to you about, which is the way that you teach students, because you also teach. I want to ask how, I know that you worked in production sound, and I'm wondering if you think your work in production sound had something to do with what made you start thinking about different ways of doing Foley.
No, I don't think that's a production out on set recording.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that's a connection. It's just that's just.
You don't think that had anything to? You don't think that had something to do with you at least opening your mind to different ways of recording rather than just being on a Foley stage the way most of us started out?
So if you surround yourself with interesting people, often you start to view things in a more like creative. That's I think that's.
I would agree with that. I would also say that I learned more from the mixers I worked with than a lot of the Foley artists I worked with. I worked with some amazing Foley mixers, and then I would learn from re-recording mixers. I'd listen very carefully to them, and I learned a lot from editors, because I was fortunate enough as a Foley artist to get to know and work with editors. I cut Foley and ADR, but I also just listened to editors. I would hang with sound editors and listen to what they didn't like about Foley. And when you listen to what sound editors don't like about Foley, what they say is bad Foley, and you listen you go, ooh, I won't do that. If you are, because I consider myself to be pretty discerning. I don't listen to people who don't know what they're talking about, but I was fortunate enough, Rune, to work with some of the very best sound editors that ever lived.
I believe
and I do listen to them. So when somebody knows more than I do, I listen to them. And I know when they know more.
Yeah, that's right.
I will always listen to people who know more than I do. I just don't listen to the people.
Probably know more about it than I do. But,
I don't listen to the people.
But anyway, teaching.
Now I want to hear about your teaching. Yes. So, briefly before.
How much time do we got left?
We have a little bit of time, and we have about 10 minutes, and I really do want to hear about your teaching, because I'm very excited that you're excited about teaching, because since I love to teach, you seem excited that you teach. So
we have way too little time for this, but I can just go quick through a list I made, like a checklist for Foley.
Excellent. Right? It's exciting to me that you.
I keep it simple, so I just keep it to like seven small like checklist points, right? What Foley is.
Excellent.
So first of all, we need to. What is Foley? To create a sound, you need two things, right? That's not new. You need like you need A to collide with B to create a sound, right?
Right.
That's pretty basic. So if you take this here, this book for an example, and this paper, I need the pen and the paper, right, to create the sounds, and that's applied to most things. There's some examples that would not sample, like a swoosh. There's only one thing that, and you can argue that the wind is the other sound, like. So there's some examples where this does not fit, but basically it's like you need like two things.
But it is colliding, so but it's colliding with sound molecules. It's colliding with
the turbulence around it. Yeah,
but it's not colliding with. It's not colliding with something.
Yeah, but the A collides with, and then it's have to think they have, and that's why it start to like, you can like, where it's not longer library, why you can call Foley library. This is not to bring here, because what you need to look after is what it resonates in. So if I do like this paper here, and put it on here, this here, but if I put it on the table here, under the table will resonate differently.
Yes.
So that's why you can look up in the library paper on, or writing on paper, but you can paper writing on the front of a car, for example.
On wood desk,
Yeah.
against metal table, or
Yeah,
and
right.
I want to just stop you for a second, because we will take the time to comment on this. When I have taught Foley, one of the things I have always focused on is saying, be thinking about what it's resonating against, because you can use the same prop 50 different ways depending on what it's resonating against. It could
this
be
one here,
different props.
I brought this little piece here. That's my speaking device.
So describe what this is for people who cannot see
it. It's just a metal lock.
It's like
Great.
what is this? Wait, Rune, what is that for people who can't see us?
It's like a thing you lock a door with. It's a two pieces of metal squeezing. When you turn it around, yeah. So that's okay. The prop. But if I take this one here,
I want one of
those. Put it here.
And you put it next to that.
This is like a kind of metal bearing. This is a metal barrel. So put it up on here.
You put it against that metal. Is that like a metal box, or and now it resonates?
Yeah. So that's
one of the things that I tell people when I talk about Die Hard, and I say how I use the same piece of air conditioning duct that I sat in. I sat in it for air conditioning duct, but I hit against the outside of it with 2 sets of microphones for the elevator shaft, because I had it resonate against another piece of very heavy metal for the elevator shaft. And I said, same piece of air conditioning duct, but I had it resonate against heavier metal and mic'd it on the inside and outside for the elevator shaft. Same piece of air conditioning duct. Yeah.
So the next thing you have to think about is it's what kind of perspective, what kind of room and perspective you put the sound in, and that's have to do with how loud you perceive the sound.
Right.
So if I'm in like a swimming hall, or like a big church or something like that, and I speak very low, whisper.
Yes, like I'm in a room that's very dead right now. I can talk very quietly.
Yeah. But if you start in this, if it's some in the same church start to like speak really loud, if you can't make more reverb,
it's gonna reverb.
So that's a kind of the language. Yeah. So that's how you, and we can do it by either move the front and low to. So
you're actually talking like so what the first thing you're thinking like then is an acoustician. You're actually thinking like an acoustician, and rather than giving them.
No, I'm thinking that's as like the language of sound, which is as we spoke on the last one.
But this is what acousticians actually think like, but they're just using different terminology. And what you're doing, Rune, is you're using the thinking of an acoustician, but you're bringing it into terms that students can understand. This is what acousticians who design rooms are thinking about, but they're just using language they don't understand.
Yeah, no, but yeah, no, you're not. Yeah, that's not. I'm maybe not clear. If you when you put it into the film, you have to think about what perspective you put it in. And if you see if you have like a sound mixer or somebody else designing a sound, you see it's like seeing a picture. There's a foreground, midground, and background.
Right.
And what happens when you a typical mistake that I have made myself is that if you have like a lot of department working on a larger film, everyone wants to be heard of putting all the sounds in the foreground, So everybody is like, nobody thinking where to. So what I want to do is when I record it, it have to be in the right kind of foreground, midground, or background, depending on where it needs to be in the finish mix. So you can do it by either add reverb with an off mic, or you can also like I have one fader and the other fader as well with the same microphone, just a copy, just split up so the same on the same. But this one has a little bit of EQ because it's not always possible to add reverb. Example, if you are in a wood with a lot of snow and it's very dead and you need to put perspective on it. And by definition, is like acoustic will understand that the farther you get away from a source, the more the bass will disappear, and this have something to do with the omnidirectional acoustics.
So,
but the farther you get away
what are the rest of your checklist points? You had several. Which one were you on? Was that
anyway? Yeah. So and this, the other thing I want, Simon, this is specific. Put it in the right perspective where you wanted to record it. Not always put it in front. Just put it in the right, record it the right way where it's supposed to be in the film. Then you have to think about what comes before and after the sound to tell the sound. And I have seen on these forums where a lot of students are being asked, how do you do snow? How do you blah blah? And how do you do a punch effect? And I say, I don't know how to do a punch effect. You just, and I tell them, often tell people, students and other needs advice that think about what comes before and after, because what I'm a typical mistake I've done with myself is that just to look around that have just taken the table this glove here, and you make a punch sound, and you make another layer with something else, another glove or anything, and it goes right on the sync where it's love, and you end up in the finish last mix, the end mix, and it will go click. It's just like it doesn't work, and I think, what am I doing wrong? Why doesn't it work? And there's of course techniques where you can make, but the point is, if you remember this, Vanessa, if you've seen these old Batman cartoons, you remember? Yeah, it says it reads pow. It's what
pow, right?
Pow. Yeah, it's a sound before. It's a sound before. It's a sound. It's a sound before that defines what's happening next. So if I take this prop here and mix it with, instead of make it into a story, right? So it goes like, the arm goes like this when you do the punch, and it goes like so.
So you've got the cloth, and then they hit the cloth, and then they hit.
Yeah, and a swoosh or a swoosh. And then you can put afterward the guy goes or break the nose or something else. So you may have like what thing after, and then suddenly it's not just a click. Now it's a kind of story.
So the reaction, what comes after the reaction?
Yeah, it's also
in acting speak, we would say that the reaction helps define what the action was. It's the reaction to what happened to you that defines what happened to you. That's what the acting. That's what we would say in acting. My reaction to what you did to me. My reaction to what you did to me helps define what it was you did to me.
Yeah, so, and then you could do the sound before. You say what happened before the sound.
That's what we would say.
I was just watching the what you call the Nolan's last film yesterday. What's it called? Oppenheimer. Yeah, and I remember that they have just before the bomb. It was very silent, right? It's like, and that's the oldest film trick in the world. Yeah, it's like very silent, and suddenly go boom, right? To make it's like when you have in acting, you in a theater, you put two guys to get a guy look tall. You send in two small guys first, and then the last guy would look tall, right? Same kind of principle. So you have to think before and after. And I could got a lot of sample that, but we are just to get a little progression here. And then there's the 6 on my list here. Just skip some of the the intention of the sound. What is the intention of the sound, and that's where it's totally given. That's why it divides it totally from sound library stuff. It's the intention, what you're telling with the sound. How you use the sound to tell what kind of people are. And I don't know if you remember your house when you were a kid, and lying in your bed in the evening or in the morning or whatever, and your family goes through the kitchen door, the front door, or somebody, and you could instantly tell your brother, sister, mother, or uncle, or whatever, or your neighbor walking through. You can just know by the sound how they use the door handle, what person it is who's going through the door without seeing them. So yeah, so I mean, you can just by, for example, just an example of the door handle. How you use the door handle tells everything about the person.
Everything. Absolutely.
Yeah. So if there's a guy who's like, open the door and open, and then when they close the door, they took down the handle, and the other kind of people just like, right? Without,
absolutely.
Yeah. And somebody just give it a little extra push, just so it's a little more scary or a little more forceful, or somebody try to be a little more quiet. And it's the same with putting a cup down on the table with a spoon in, can go down, or the other with a cup is just like very carefully put it down, and other just put it so hot so all the other cutlery goes up, So there's a lot of intention behind the sound. If you imagine that a guy lying in the trenches in First World War in France, and it's cold and freezing, writing a letter down to his wife in Britain, and he's freezing. He's like, oh hell, this is maybe last message, right? And it was kind of intention behind the sound, how it maybe shake a little more, versus like if you take Dalai Lama sitting on a fig tree in India somewhere, and there's a leaf going down, and he's writing his memoir with feather, that'd be, you couldn't find that in an archive, right? There's a kind of intention on behind how the texture and everything is presented. And to just do that, then there is like the seven, like the, I don't know how to translate that word, but like the wholeness, the overall kind of idea on what it should be, the thing you are doing. Like an idea on the textures and the sounds. I mean, remember, some films are like swish and swoosh, and some are don't. Some films you can like, right? And some films you can't put swooshes on. It would be completely wrong to even if people move fast. It's just like kind of realism, naturalism, surrealism level in some kinds.
This would be the overall style, the overall aesthetic style of the film. The overall aesthetic style of the film.
Yeah. So and
this 7-point checklist, which I think encapsulates and articulates beautifully what a lot of us who I think have thought very philosophically about what we believe Foley is about. I think you've articulated it really well.
Well, thank you. It's I don't know. I hope it's to help other people to like maybe understand what we are doing a little bit,
to elevate the discussion of Foley past, oh, I used this. I mean, I think it's important to help people understand the performative, the elevated performance of what Foley is as an art that is so important to breathe life into these characters that we are trying to support, because actors have a vision, and directors have a vision, and writers have a vision, and we are trying to support it with what we do sonically. Thank you. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Yeah.
Namaste.
Oh, it's very.
Have a wonderful year.
Yeah, what you
Thank you so much. This
Yeah.
has been
Nice
a wonderful
to talk.
discussion to bring us into 2024.